All right, guys, we are live. Another Thursday edition of TigerBait Live. That's 2 weeks in a row. We've gone on Thursday, and we'll get in either way, whether it's a Wednesday or a Thursday night, depending on what happens. We always move it around depending on conflicts. And, of course, I'm glad to have Buddy Songy with us here on the Pride Roofing TigerBait Live show. And I think we got a lot to discuss tonight. Obviously, MLB draft on Saturday. We didn't talk since Yeskie was announced as LSU's new pitching coach. And a lot of stuff happening in recruiting. LSU sitting at 18 commitments and expecting to have a nice flurry, I think, as you get towards Labor Day. LSU typically has around 20 or so. I think they're going to get there. End of July, going to have another gathering of recruits on campus for a function. And then, of course, not soon after that, football practice will start. Next week, SEC Media Days. Brian Kelly first in the morning on Monday. And we'll have all that for you on TigerBait. But welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mr. Scarborough. By the way, publisher of TigerBait.com for a long time. Happy to be in the house here tonight. And, Mike, it is amazing. You know, I had Brian Holland with WVLA. And let's give a shout-out to all of the media people who went to Omaha. I think LSU fans are spoiled to get the kind of coverage they got from Jacques and Channel 9, Cobble and Matt Trent and Corey back in the studio. Of course, Brian and Chessa, all the other beat writers.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's always interesting. I asked Todd Walker today on his show.
Gilbo was there.
Yeah, I had him on today.
Did you want to give Glenn Gilbo a shout out? He was in Omaha, too.
Well, we don't really include Gilbo in that thing. By the way, Mike sent me a tweet that Gilbo had spit out when Jay Johnson was hired, and it basically said LSU didn't hit a home run with this hire. And so, Glenn, we're not going to get into, but
I like to pick on Glenn,
who did a great job giving you so much coverage. But did you find the same thing I did? Overwhelming national response, record number of viewers and eyeballs. Women doubled the game with LSU Iowa at last year's championship game. Most CWS final watch ever, blowing out. Draft is Sunday. Jay Johnson's on MLB, and Skeens and Cruz are just mopping up with the SEC Male Athlete of the Year. So a lot of afterglow, and it's not just local; it is national. The LSU brand right now is as strong as I can remember in recent memory.
And you know, and part of that is you can say personalities,
yeah,
but it's the athletes themselves.
Sure.
You know, we all know what happened after 2019. Of course, when COVID hit, LSU seemed to get another bump in like a lengthier span of marketing because that was the only thing that they had for sports. So they kept re-showing, you know, and then leading up to the draft and Burrow and all that. It was, and then of course COVID hit, and then wheels came off the Orgeron era. But when you got Livy Dunn and Angel Reese, and it's the women athletes, the males. You got a bunch of personalities. The brand is as sexy as ever.
Well, and look, kudos to Livy Dunn. Not only is she having fun with an all-star pitcher, but Livy has established a new company that is going to help LSU athletes that come in with NIL. This is what it's all about. It's about giving back. Now, I know Livy has gotten a lot of criticism and people try to portray her in the wrong way, but she is a nationally known figure. Angel Reese is playing with USA Basketball. Everybody knows who Angel Reese is. Everybody knows who Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz is. Everybody knows Livy Dunn, and certainly, as you alluded to, it started with Joe Burrow, but with COVID and then the downfall, LSU's hot. I got a little tidbit for you tonight. 40 new players. I went through the roster. Been spending a little time on the football. 40 new players. Mike and I are going to chew it up a little bit. A lot of new numbers. We'll get into football, but another afterglow. And I know you celebrated women's basketball and talked about it at championship probably a good 3 or 4 weeks. Baseball won't go that far because SEC Media Days is in 11 days. But bottom line is, these championships not only mean a lot to this local community, the SEC, but this is nationwide stuff.
But here's the thing. Baseball is going to continue to be talked about. You get the Major League Draft on Sunday. Jay Johnson's going to appear on that broadcast. And then once the dust settles on that and he knows what he's got coming in, and still a lot of transfer portal, I think Jay Johnson's going to be in the news a lot in July. And so, Mulkey and her staff are doing what they're doing, welcome in that fantastic group of freshmen. And so, got a poll on the front page of TigerBait.com right now, and I put it up yesterday. And just to show you where it's at, the question was, which LSU national championship team has the highest odds to repeat next year, women's basketball or baseball? And the results as of right now is 90% say women's basketball.
Well, look, as I said,
go vote on that poll.
Yeah, vote on that poll. I think you're going to get 90% on LSU basketball. But look, Brian Kelly, the first question he's going to get from me, and seriously,
year 2.
What is in the water in Baton Rouge that second-year coaches have a natty to hold up? And oh, by the way, Coach, now that you've been here almost a year and 3/4, I totaled it up the other day, it was like 19 or 20 months. Do you understand why the last 3 football coaches at LSU have won national championships? Have that become a little more crystal clear? You know what he's saying, and he's smart. And Kim Mulkey said the same thing. Don't expect a natty in year 2. It's too much too soon. Of course, they shocked the world. Jay Johnson was preseason number 1 and was number 1 12 weeks. Everybody assumed they would get there, but boy, they had the bump in the road, and he still comes. That's still improbable, the way they played, especially with their bullpen. But now Brian Kelly is telling everybody we're a year away. Folks, I got to tell you, these 40 new players, you're going to be excited as hell for football.
I've been at 11-1 for several months. I was on a show earlier today out of town, and that guy was taking bets that he felt, in fact, it was Jordy Holtberg. Jordy Holtberg was taking bets saying that he thinks the media is going to pick LSU over Alabama in the SEC media days. I don't think that's going to happen. I think LSU is going to be second, but I do think the vote is going to be very close. But when Brian Kelly says he thinks he's a year away, I think that's even more, that even more wants me to stick with 11-1 rather than drop back.
And look,
because just because of the way things, just the way we have seen things happen for the women and the men's baseball team, because in both those cases, we thought the women were a year away, and then everything started to fall their way. And then we thought baseball with the missing pitchers, at least I did. Buddy was arguing with me, and he was right and I was wrong.
We wasn't arguing. We were just disagreeing, and I said baseball's a game of failure, and if you could overcome failure, they had a chance. I did not think they would play when they were in a slump the same way in postseason, but you got to remember.
But we're getting Riley Cooper and some of those performances.
That's what I'm saying. It all fell into place, and for Mulkey and Jay Johnson, well-deserved. But, man, back to your little point that you said what J-Man said, I'm with you. I think the Alabama media does not want to get scolded by Nick Saban. And Nick will tell these guys, all right, you guys voted as first last year. We don't give a damn.
If I'm BK, I don't want to be picked first.
No, but I think LSU will be right under Alabama. Georgia prohibitive favorite to East. Georgia prohibitive favorite to win it all. They got the easiest schedule you've ever seen for an SEC team. That changes in 24. But bottom line is that when I started diving in, and this is why I'm not giving a record now, I want to see if Aaron Anderson is going to be the punt returner. I want to see if Shelton Sampson has grown up and is the next Terrace Marshall. I want to see all these new players. We're going to talk about them. It's going to get you excited because there's some studs coming in here. 40, I couldn't believe it, Mike. I had to do it 3 times. 40 new players. They probably had about 80 on the team.
And that's not walk-ons.
No, these are all
that's
new
transfer new and freshmen.
And guys that did not play last year. And we're not even including Mason Smith and others who didn't play because of injuries. So we'll get into some of those players, and it's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Real Ed O says, hey, guys. Preston chimes in and says, anyone else missed the platform 9 3/4 wall behind them? That's a reference to Harry Potter, and they go through the bricks to go to wherever. What's Harry Potter? Where do they go? Whatever it is. Yeah, the brick wall is gone. It's been retired. Roger Ramjack, good to be with you guys. Always enjoy your show. Go Tigers. Barry Barbier, tell Buddy not to. Oh, yeah, no. That's a joke towards what was left in the White House. Real Edo, hey guys. Cruz winning SEC Media Athlete of the Year. is male athlete of the year is huge. James Wade, Alumni Hall. Doug knows hit a single. All right, buddy, I got one for you. Baseball transfer portal. What are you picking up?
Justin Lower from Xavier, really good lefty, throws mid-90s. He's in the house. A reliever from Alabama with Louisiana ties is in the house. Utility infielder from South Carolina right now. But it will pick up a bunch here in the next week. We expect more pitchers. Could be a pitcher from Air Force. You know he's going to bring some arms in. And you have to wait to see where some of these guys like Joe Bear and others are drafted, whether or not they're going to come back for the last year or not. But
well, who's the hotshot pitcher from IMG that he signed? I was watching D1 Baseball's draft show a few hours ago. They had a live show.
Yeah, but he's probably going to go.
They say he's
you don't know
go.
which ones are going to come then, which ones.
Yeah, they say it's almost
There's
no
going to lose
chance.
3 or 4, maybe more recruits to the draft.
Yeah. Big Honus, Keller, good evening, Mike and Buddy, and fellow Tiger Baiters. Go Tigers. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. Very much appreciate you guys doing that for us each and every week. Real Ed O at Brian DeFore, we will crush Florida State and take their spear and stab it through the 50-yard line. It's going to be a big game.
You know,
Have we seen a line on that? Is there a line on that yet?
It's an early line. It's back
2 or
and
3?
forth, 1.5. Each team, 1 week, one team's favored. But man, I got to tell you something. The build up on that game is going to kick up, and the people in Tallahassee have aspirations of getting in the CFP. I don't think they're there. If you remember what LSU was like as a team in that first game, I think they're totally different, but let's give Mike Norvell and Florida State a lot of credit. They did a hell of a job with the transfer portal, got some big-time receivers, including the one at Michigan State with LSU ties and Louisiana ties, got some great rushers from the edge. But guess what? Will Campbell's not starting his first game. Cameron Wire's not at right tackle. You got Emory Jones, and so we'll get into all of
LSU
that.
didn't have a week 0 game either like they did.
Yeah. So,
but I will say this. He is a good coach.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely is. And I know somebody who was on Les Miles' staff, who was on his staff, and thought the world of him. In fact, before LSU hired Brian Kelly, and he took the Florida State job, I know he really wanted the LSU job if it came open. There was a window of time there. But he is a darn good coach. And but I think from top to bottom, I think LSU's got superior talent.
By the way, I said 40 new players. 2 new coaches, Jimmy Lindsay, the D-line coach, and, of course, John Jancic, who is going to coach on the edge with D-linemen and jack linebackers, and then the special teams. That's the thing we're not going to get answered, folks. You've got everybody involved with different facets of special teams, and so I don't know how it's going to look, but I would be willing to bet a C note. It's going to look appreciably better than that cluster F last year in the opener on special teams.
All right, we got a big crowd in here, 179 live right now, and it usually builds as we get towards the way. So, guys, hit the share button. Please share the show to your social media, your Facebook feed. Text it out to your fellow LSU buddies, and much appreciate you guys spreading the word. Fire 3449. Hey, Mike, WVUE did a live impromptu interview with Livy Dunn at the team hotel, and she knocked it out of the park. What a well-spoken representative of LSU. You know, she really doesn't do a ton of interviews, does she?
Well,
she does the photos, but I mean, she's not one who's, seeking out the microphone a ton.
Well, the sad thing about Livy is that she is a fantastic performer on bars and in the gym, and obviously she was hurt last year, and as you remember that first meet, because of all the craziness, they were all going, Livy, and they kind of got a little scared because some of the guys got a little wacky over her. But Jay Clark's going to be loaded up. But Livy Dunn, to give back and form a company that's going to help other women make money in NIL, just like Angel Reese and all the other LSU women's basketball players that are sharing NIL. Mike, this is why we talk about the brand. But if you're an athlete at LSU and you're popular, it's a pretty damn good time to be in Tiger Town.
Hal Jubin says women basketball hands down with the highest odds next year. And but like you said, we're going to find out after the draft and then what he brings in the portal. And then, of course, fall ball will get here and everybody will be thinking just like last fall. what all he's assembled. I think it's going to be another fantastic haul that he brings in.
Nate Yeskie, by the way, worked with Jay Johnson before, went to A&M for a couple of years. Schlossnagle was pissed that Yeskie came over here to LSU. Let's give Wes Johnson a lot of credit, and we all certainly give props to Jay Johnson winning it. But, Mike, to have a staff and have a coach and have that information between those two, and it took 4 days to get out and be leaked to the media that Wes was going to be leaving and going to be the head coach of Georgia and still make all the right decisions and win the national championship. It's a hell of a job because, you know, a lot of times a guy's sitting here going, man, I got to hire staff. I got to get everything in place. I got to recruit. So let's give Wes and Jay Johnson and that relationship a lot of credit.
How tough of a job does he have at Georgia to get them where they need to be?
Well, it's going to take him a while, but he will attract pitchers.
But I think he's probably got a good dose of watching Jay do what he did.
Sure.
And he's going to take that with him to Athens.
And the other thing that was so incredible, 4 incredible pitchers that all got hurt out for the year. Jay Newt was a big-time freshman recruit. Chase Shores and Garrett Edwards both had ERAs under 2. And Grant Taylor was the second-best pitcher behind Skeens. He was going to be the second guy. Floyd was going to be the third guy. He missed the season. We don't know about their injury, how soon they will come back. But you throw in those 4 pitchers. Here's the other thing. How many people out there, raise your hand, when they lost at Wake Forest, because I certainly didn't believe this, how many people thought they were going to come through the losing bracket to win that puppy? Nobody thought that.
No way. And that was the point I was making, you know, why just the odds were. But to get, I just keep bringing up Riley Cooper. I mean, he was a guy where a lot of LSU fans were turning the TVs off on Sundays during the season when he came in the game, just because they knew the wheels were going to come off. You don't win anything with what he did. And Thatcher Hurd, and Gavin Guidry, and on and on. I mean, it's just insane what they got out of everybody.
Riley Cooper, 3 saves and a win, and he pitched 1 inning after he had been puking for, 24 to 36 hours. I don't know what the story was, whether he got a bad jello shot, whether he ate something bad, but he was sick and gave him 1 inning when he was sick. And of course, Paul Skeens, look, just like I'll never see another Joe Burrow at LSU in my lifetime, I don't think I'll ever see another Paul Skeens.
Well, there's a whole lot of guys that are going to be folk heroes on that team. Cooper, Beloso, on and on. I mean, Gavin Guidry, to have a coming in party like that as a true freshman. Now he wants to get, moved to the infield. But how do you negotiate that going forward?
Gavin Dugas, Stravinsky, Milazzo, unbelievable stories throughout the postseason.
All right, guys, let me scroll down here. Get to some of your comments. Yeah, Blaine Smith. Good evening, Mike and Buddy. How is Quincy Wiggins doing? Haven't heard anything about him. Look, I think most people figured that Quincy was going to need some time. Very raw. Didn't play organized football till his junior year at Madison Prep. He was a basketball kid. I think he's in the same thing with Savion Jones. I had Savion Jones number 1, but those were both athletic big guys that were still maybe maturing into themselves. And I think both of them are going to be beasts. I think Savion's time is now. Does Quincy start to show you some flashes this year, and then maybe the following year, just like Savion? I think the sky's limit is the limit for both of them. But in high school, senior year at Madison Prep, Quincy was getting away with just being so big and long, and nobody knew how to handle him. But you got to have a lot more than that in college.
I think Quincy's a year away, and obviously Jimmy Lindsey, we'll see what kind of talent he can get out of that D-line. But look, man, Ovie Ogofu and Braden Swinson and a lot, Parrish Shan, Jordan Jefferson we did not see, big nose tackle from West Virginia. We're going to go through some of these new players at some point tonight and just give you an idea. Mike says 11-1. I want to see what they look like. I can't wait to get out there on the practice field and put these numbers together with the bodies. I don't know if you've been watching these films. Freak of the Week, LaTerrence Welsh was week 1. Week 2 was Garrett Nussmeier. Week 3, Ovie Ogofu. Played 3 years with Kelly at Notre Dame, 1 year at Texas. He's a 5th-year guy, very smart. He has changed numbers from 17 to number 2. A lot of single digits on that defense. We're going to talk about it in a little bit.
All right, let's hear from Mike and Alex at Pride Roofing.
Hey, it's Michael and Alex again with Pride Roofing. Here we grow again. Did your roof get denied during Hurricane Ida?
The insurance company is playing game with you.
Don't forget, August 29th is your 2-year anniversary to make a claim.
Your neighbor got new roof, why not you?
Pay your deductible. We're fortified, certified.
We do your roof, you came on the Pride umbrella, bet on Pride.
855
Pride
16.
There you go, Mike Faraday, Alex Martinez, Pride Roofing, based right there on Florida Boulevard in Albany, Louisiana. Call them at 855-PRIDE-16, whether it's residential or commercial, anywhere in South Louisiana. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. They're going to pay for you to have free TigerBait premium for a year with your free roof inspection. So you're out nothing, no obligation. They come out, give you a free roof inspection. You say TigerBait, and they're going to pay. They're paying me. They're going to pay for you to have TigerBait premium free for 1 year. You can't beat it. And big new location in Houma that they're really expanding in a big way. Big news coming on that even more so soon. Lots of new equipment that they bought. They're really investing in their machinery. There's no other roofing company in Louisiana that has the capability that they do with the type of cutting machines and machines they're brought in from the state of Washington and Switzerland and everywhere else.
Commercial real estate, and don't forget, it's still hot. Metal roofs. They had the acquisition of Crown Metals. It's made a big difference in the metal roofing business. And in Baton Rouge, Mike Kirby, you know Mike, Vernon, other people, check out our office in Baton Rouge on Government Street, 275-2041. And we've been talking about it and pointing about it, about Brian Kelly was going to bring back the pride of LSU. So was Kim Mulkey, so was Jay Johnson. Give these folks an opportunity, and you'll have pride. They're going to do the job right. They're going to get there early. They're going to clean up. They're very competitive with a cost bid. Give them an opportunity. That's all we ask. Of course, outside the Baton Rouge area, 855-PRIDE-16. And Mike and Alex just continue to knock it out of the park, Mike.
Absolutely. Todd Davis says Colin Simmons is 50-50 LSU and Texas according to 247. And that's kind of where we've thought it's been all these months. It's going to go all the distance, and it's going to be everybody's thought for a good while it's going to be LSU or Texas going back and forth for a while. And, does it come down to a few nickels and an NIL at the end? I don't know. But I think his relationship with the LSU coaching staff is fantastic.
My gut feeling on that kid is that he wants to come to LSU. But his mom and daddy live in Texas. And so that's a lot of pressure if he signs with LSU. I think the kid wants to come to LSU.
Now, and they're
going to unload the boat.
And it's also a different deal now, okay? Don't kid yourself. The fact that Texas can now sell being a member of the SEC
Absolutely.
starting next year, that is also a different deal for Texas. If they were still in the Big 12 and everything was status quo, I think they would be way behind.
Yeah.
I believe
but
that.
My point is that Texas is going to make it hard for his mom and daddy to let him go to LSU from a monetary standpoint. They are all in on this kid, like you alluded to, getting into the SEC, can sell Arch Manning and all that. They're trying to come in here and get more Louisiana kids because they know how much talent's in the state. But I think the kid wants to go to LSU. But so did Jacoby Matthews, right? Where'd he end up?
Texas A&M.
And where did Mr. Perkins end up?
LSU.
And he wanted to go to LSU, and it worked out. So you just never know if the kid's going to get his wish with NIL and with these big rich universities are offering. LSU is in the middle of it, but they're not at the top. They're not going to offer him more money than Texas is. That's not going to happen.
Well, I'm not going to say which one it was, but one of the kids you named, it can also be a deal too where, you think you got everything squared away, and then all of a sudden, the day before, they're calling again saying the other schools anteed up more, and then the coach over here is going to say, no, we're done. We're pushing away from the table, and you shut the door.
I'll just remember the pictures and all the stuff that you chronicled when that kid came on his visit. All right? He looked pretty darn happy. But once again, you got a long time to sweat till December. Don't freak out on these kids, these rumors. Wardell Mack and they went to Texas and they got signed, sealed, delivered. It's way early. I know you're looking for something to bitch about and sweat about and worry about, but now is not the time to freak out because, Mike, these kids are also going to see what happens on the football field. And I want to see what Steve Sarkisian can deliver this year. And I want to see the relationship that Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Motorcycle Petrino, that relationship, I'm already hearing
That's a train wreck.
they're not frying fish on Friday nights.
Clint Phillips from the parish. I want to see Landon Ibieta and Aaron Anderson return kicks and punts this year. Last year we got nothing on returns. And, again, you start talking about that near a dozen wide receiver core, and a kid like Landon Ibieta, who was injured last year, had a fantastic spring, and he absolutely can be a guy on special teams. And so you've got multiple options there. So who do you have back there on punts, and who do you have back there on kick returns? Who are the two? I think there's a lot more options that the staff has on special teams than they had last year.
Well, and kickoff returns have almost become obsolete because everybody's got somebody that can kick it. Look, we got a lot of new numbers, so I'm just going to give you about 10 to start. You'll interact.
Go ahead.
And we'll go. And here we go. Aaron Anderson's going to wear number one. Number one, my first question to you. You saw this kid. You said, Bud, man, they needed to get this kid. Everybody knows the story. We won't relive that. We didn't see him. He was hurt. He was still recovering. 5'9", 180. What do you think we see from Aaron Anderson?
I just think he's such a difference maker. Now I will say this: he had the knee at Alabama, and then came here and missed the spring. But he was a healthy, uninjured kid all through high school. So, you want that trend to stop.
Second, number one, Omar Spates. He came over in the spring, middle linebacker from Oregon State. He's a man. The guy has been around the block. Of course, Perkins and him and Greg Penn are all going to be right there in the middle. I like what I saw from Omar Spates in the spring.
Big kid. What are they listening at? 235?
235.
Can run. You like the fact that he's already a graduated college. He's a college grad. Highly intelligent, and Matt House loves him.
Number two, Ovi Ogofu. Ovi Ogofu wore 17 in the spring. He's going to be at defensive end on the edge. And I got to tell you, he just won the Freak of the Week award on week 3. This guy's going to be hard to block. Wouldn't shock me to see Kelly take him to Media Day, although he hasn't played as an LSU Tiger, so he probably won't go. But he moved. We ought
to be getting word on that soon, by the way.
That ought to be next week, I would think. But number 2 is Ovi Ogofu. Here's one of my favorites, number 3, folks. Logan Diggs. Can you believe, Tiger fans, that when you went to that spring game, there were 2 running backs available, Noah Cain and Trey Holland. Mike, there are 8 that are going to line up, including John Emery. Everybody is continuing to say there's a reason he's still on the roster. And Trey Bradford is another guy that we hadn't seen in a while. But your take on Logan Diggs?
Look, if Emery's eligible, you got 8 running backs. I just think you've got a lot of answers there.
He's in the mix. I think he's got good vision. He catches the ball. Couple more, Shelton Sampson, number 6. Reminds me a lot of Terrace Marshall. Took Terrace Marshall a couple years for the light to go on. Is Shelton Sampson ready?
My only thing about Shelton Sampson, watching him in high school, is that I think he's, and I've said this multiple times on this show, is that he's like Brian Thomas. I always said, if he just, with Thomas, if he had a little bit of Jack Besh in him, where he was feisty and excitable, where's the fire and not liking a hit late, and I don't know. To me, that's the only thing that I think he and Brian Thomas are similar in that regard, and I'd like to see some more fire out of both of them.
All right, Ricky Collins wearing number 10. Look, I think it's safe to say the only way he plays is that it's a travesty for LSU. I mean, Jaden Daniels is really good, and Nussmeier is pushing him. Ricky Collins, though, you know, Walker didn't want to wait. This is tough when you're the third guy. You're getting reps with the scout team, and really you're not feeling that that big a part of the team. But we know if there's an injury, he's got to be ready. But you hope you don't see it this year.
Yeah, he's man, physically. First of all, Nussmeier's gotten bigger.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels gotten bigger, and Ricky looks the part already.
Yeah.
And so physically, all three of them look great.
Couple more, then we'll get back to more. Denver Harris, number 10. Everybody knows about the 5-star from A&M. I think it is a short rope for him. I don't think they're going to put up with any nonsense, so he's got to behave and be part of the culture. And then J.K. Johnson coming over, number 12 from Ohio State. 10 and 12, 2 new corners. Are they in the mix and then 2 deep the first week of fall practice?
Yeah. You know, then you got multiple kids there too that have had a history of can they stay healthy through an entire football season. But yeah, Denver Harris though you would love for him to absolutely show that he's the next LSU DBU guy.
All right, and then the last guy we'll talk about in this segment, number 11, Jackson Howard, edge rusher from Minnesota, highest rated player in the state of Minnesota. Of course, they're not known for high school football. They love this kid. And number 11, he was about 240 when we last saw him. He could be 245. He's going to be a nemesis and a pain in the butt from the edge. Man, when you got great edge rushers, everybody's worried about the secondary and corner and the safeties, no doubt. But if you got that pressure with the front four, you're giving that passer a quarter of a second or half a second less to throw the ball, and that helps your secondary.
He's obviously a kid that when we first started talking about him, it was as a tight end. He can play on both sides of the ball. He was a highly rated tight end, said he wants to come play defense first. You know, if he, you know, what's the likelihood that he's a red shirt?
Oh, no, he plays.
You know, we'll see. But you know.
Well, the reason I say he plays is because very seldom do you go 5 years now. Just about everybody plays it because once again,
but
LSU,
you've got some bodies there with some maturity too.
Well, yeah, but LSU is still under 85 at this point, so I think he's going to play. And then that last guy, number 12, Kyle Parker, he was here for spring, underrated wide receiver. Look, he's in the mix, but isn't it nice to have 9 to 10 wide receivers to talk about this year?
Like the way he looked, Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ibieta earlier. I saw one of the outfits, was Chris Collinsworth's group, had LSU's wide receiver core in the top 5 or 6 in the nation. That group is absolutely stacked.
And look, I don't want to say a derogatory comment about a media member, but Phil Steele has been in the sun too frickin' long. I don't know where he lives.
He was the guy for a long time.
He was the guy for a long time, but he has lost his wits.
What did he do?
I just say this. If you want to get pissed off, read Phil Steele's stuff. That's all I'm going to tell you.
What is LSU 5th in the West?
No, it's not just that. It's just he's lost. He's been in the sun too long.
All right, guys, let me scroll down. I think we got, Raymond wants to know, good evening, is Justin Lower a starting pitcher or more of a bullpen arm next year?
I think they're going to give him a chance to be in a weekend rotation. Low to mid-90s, a lefty, and he is highly thought of by the national baseball people, Kendall Rogers and others.
Big Honus Keller, will John Emery make a complete season?
Man, what is it about Alabama?
Real Ed O, Emery will be all right, guys. You wait and see.
But what is it about Alabama, Mike? Emery plays his best games against Alabama. But guys, if you want to play football for Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock, there's one thing you just absolutely can't do, and that's fumble the rock.
When you got 7 running backs,
He's got to hold on to the ball in fall camp.
He got a lot more.
And he's got to be healthy.
But he got a lot more opportunities to make mistakes because of how thin they were. They're not thin anymore.
But I think it was psychological. Remember, he had a game last year where he had the fumbles, 1 or 2 in a game. So,
yeah.
But it's a feel-good story. But I would say he's going to start 5 or 6 on the depth chart.
Josh Forbes, hey guys, Mike and Buddy, good to see y'all. We're glad you're with us. Michael Sutherland says, hey, Buddy, where's the LSU National Championship baseball hat? Buddy just hadn't made it over to Alumni Hall yet, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit. Holden Lee, I live in Opelousas, and I'm sure you already know, but Opelousas has some dudes. Yeah, they do. And Deshaun, the running back, saw him at Friday Night Lights at LSU. Love that kid. 3 running backs in Louisiana for 25. He's one of them. And he's put together, can run track. But I was talking to him. I said, Opelousas has had some players, but none that were really that LSU went after since Devery Henderson. Mm-hmm. And he's the one guy. And so it's been a long time.
But the problem is that LSU has 3 great ones. And as we just talked about, now Logan Diggs could go pro after this year, and we know Josh Williams is finished, and we know John Emery is finished, and we know Armani Goodwin has had trouble staying healthy. So, but to get 3 from the state in 1 year, you think is going to be a little bit of a pull, huh?
That's why Noah Kane ended up at Penn State that year.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to be a part of a 3 running back class. Most of them don't. And so
Harlan Berry and Simon right now are probably.
Harlan Berry's the number 1 running back in the country.
Yeah. And you've been on him since
I love that
3
kid.
years ago.
And he's a super kid. And his daddy and Frank Wilson were teammates in high school.
Yeah.
So.
But he's got more than just speed, too, now.
No, he's the whole package. He can catch the ball. He's a faster Joe McKnight.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever saw his highlight tape, I sent it to 3 or 4 people, and I said, tell me who to remind you of, the first guy that comes to mind. And every one of them were like me. It said Joe McKnight. His style, the way he runs. But I think he's more talented than Joe McKnight, and you know how good he was coming out of high school. Holden Lee says, call me crazy, but I think Caleb Jackson is our best back.
Well, I did not mention, he's down on my list here he is now listed at 6 foot 2 1/4. I think he signed him at 5'11", 222. Look, we used to have an in with Tommy Moffitt years ago, and Tommy would tell us exact weights and all. And they do get weighed in the summer, and of course they come back and weigh. And oh, by the way, guess who was put on about 25 pounds? He's a big ugly. Lance Hurd, they signed him at 310. He's now listed at 6'6", 335. So I ask you on this hot Thursday night in the dog days of summer.
I wonder how accurate those weights are.
Well, I mean, they're updating them. They're updating them.
Because Caleb came up to me at camp 3 weeks ago, and I said,
what did he tell you weight?
And I said 220. He goes, exactly. Now.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. This is summertime.
But he could be lying. He could be 225.
Well, he's going to be a load.
But he did tell me he would like to be around 215.
But here's the problem with putting him at the top of the running back list.
Yeah.
Wasn't he hurt last year?
Yeah, but he was healthy more.
I know, but he missed most of his senior year. To come in and to ascend and get before Josh Williams, Noah Kane, Logan Diggs that have played 2 and 3, 4 years of college, I think that's a little stretch.
If he's 220, 223, it doesn't matter.
But he's a big load and he can run.
He can run. 10.6, 100 meters guy.
Yeah.
And he did that in front of my face, stumbling out of the gate. He still ran a 10.6 at the state outdoor meet last year. Okay, Mike, how does 24 class look compared to the 23? That's a good question. I need to go line by line. I tend to think it's not as but man, you've got some guys there. Is it maybe that it's more of a more well-rounded class, but is not as top heavy? But when you have some of those guys you had last year, that was amazing.
And look, I think it's a little early. I did look at my phone and I keep notes on all this stuff. Last year at this time,
I think it's pretty close.
But last year at this time, man, they were bringing in a lot of commits. Now you got to understand, this is Kelly and the staff's second year. So that first year, you're just trying to get bodies and players and LSU ties and keep in-state players. And of course, that's the other question that we've all kind of talked about, intimated. Is there going to be a fence around the state for 2024? If that's the case, McKinley and Wardell Mack and the rest of them, then you got to feel pretty good when it's all said and done.
Mack has been a kid, and I always say it, pay attention to what they do. Pay attention to what they do on Twitter, what they're hitting the like button on, how often do they come to campus. Is Mack one of those kids that's maybe been on campus more than you think? He's not just coming. But I always thought that kid was going to play it, that he wasn't necessarily married to LSU, and maybe a little Jamar Chase. If you put the pressure on him, he'll go in the other direction.
But Frank don't want to lose that kid.
No. But and McKinley, initially LSU I thought was behind. Then I thought they were in good shape. Then I've been told they're behind. Then they're making up ground. Bottom line, that was going to go a while. But I think LSU is going to be fine. But don't. It's not 100% slam dunk. But believe me, and Ohio State and others are definitely in the mix.
But if you put the fence around the state and finish the way people think they can finish in this state and get you 2 or 3 big time 4 or 5 stars out of state, then I think this class is going to be 6, 7, 8, 5, whatever, depending on the star rankings.
Yeah, Singleton's a kid like that at Manny. Doesn't do a ton of interviews. Not a lot of fanfare that he was at the camp and doing this in one-on-ones. But I know he's been to campus multiple times and nobody even knows he's drove in. So there you go. James Moore. Hey, buddy, I'm Mike. With the success of the women basketball team, the PMAC will be a celebrity circus next year. I'm assuming that South Carolina is going to be on a Sunday.
Well, I don't know when it's going to be, but it will be a hard ticket like you have intimated on numerous occasions.
I hope the SEC does it right and makes it a weekend game.
But, yeah, the PMAC is going to have some sellouts next year with the women's, and well-deserved. And, the first thing that Kim Mulkey has got to impress upon her squad is that, look, we need a bunch of we's, not me's. Everybody's got their personality. Flaugier, you're a rapper. Angel needs security to go to class now. I mean, this is how much these young ladies have blown up. But there's going to be a lot of talent. Angel Reese might not have 24 points.
I brought this up with you.
rebounds.
I brought this up with you, and you want to talk about stars? It's the women. The women are the NIL stars, ESPY awards, and everything else. Instagram, national NIL deals. That's the other part of it. You talk about NIL deals, and we all say, "Oh, Louisiana is not a very rich state, one of the poorest states in the United States." Blah blah blah. There's not enough money, people, and people don't. It's the national NIL deals that are coming through, and I think that's where the women have an advantage over your football players and your baseball players, because they're on Instagram. They can sell eyelashes. They can sell makeup. They can sell flavored water.
Eyelashes, all that stuff.
Whatever it is. Yeah. So they've got a huge advantage over the men. Absolutely.
And I give props to Gordon McKernan. He's not a paid sponsor on the show, but he says get it done. Mulkey got it done. Jay Johnson got it done. Brian Kelly. Going to be interesting to see the buildup. You know how it is. In July, everybody's thinking they're pretty good. You get into August and fall drills, it's like, man, can they go undefeated? And then everybody's trying to put Alabama down a notch. Going to be a hell of a fun season, and the anticipation for me is half the fun.
Absolutely. Kenny Haynes says, Mike, sorry I'm late. Remind Buddy just how sure I was Jay Johnson was going to bring a natty.
Yeah. Look, Kenny made a quick U-turn. He was a little spicy on the board, and I had to send a bag of ice for him and Mike. But you know what? Look, this stuff, if you've been around a long time, you're not ever going to get anything right. But Kenny was a big proponent and fan of Jay Johnson because of the way he did things. And now the sky is the limit. We talk about brand, but just look at the culture. Have you ever seen a better pot of gumbo when you talk about the ingredients on that baseball team? That's as good as it gets. And so it gives the LSU fans that are here in the state a lot of pride. But right now, I'll say it again, I don't remember when LSU's overall brand athletically was this high going into football season.
Yeah, because it's after the 19 football championship, it was as high as you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And I think now with the multiple sports, it's bigger. It's even bigger.
Yeah.
And the NIL factor. You know, we can always think about, man, what if NIL would have been in when Joe Burrow was there? Or if he would have had one more year and NIL was in effect, what might that additional year for him had been like? Yeah, Brandon Reese, we have Tylen Singles from Manning, Louisiana at the linebacker spot. Hopefully they keep him home. I'm hearing real good things about where LSU's at with him right now. Holden Lee, isn't the PMAC getting renovations? Did it get approved? I think that's years off. They're going to study that to the hilt, and there's multiple ways that can go, but it's going to be expensive. It's going to be really expensive.
Well, there are going to be enhancements and there are going to be improvements, but let's just wait to see how quickly it gets done.
I think it's because you're going to change multiple. I think you could have a new Bernie Moore at some point. You could have a new auditorium. There's a lot of things you're going to have to do to get a new PMAC. Doug Nose says Caleb Jackson is a Josh Jacobs clone.
Well, like I said, I would love for you guys to be right, but I think you're putting the cart before the horse right there. Look, Trey Holly came in and got a little taste of what it's like at this speed. Caleb Jackson physically, Mike, is just as good as any of the running backs. The question is, can he pick up the offense? Can he play as fast as he needs to be to compete at this level? Logan Diggs knows what it's like to get 3rd and 2 in a big game with Notre Dame. Josh Williams, he's got testicles this size. He beat up Alabama, even though he's a 5'9", 100. Well, I guess he's 205 now. But what I'm saying to you is that Noah Cain been in a lot of games. Armani Goodwin stays hurt, but then you throw in Emory. All these guys have something that Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly don't have right now. Experience. That's all I'm saying. Let's see how they look in the first couple of scrimmages.
Chance back, was it Coleman from Opelousas? Yeah, he was, but the point was that LSU had offered. LSU didn't offer Keon Coleman.
Yeah. But they did the second time around.
Yeah. Larry's saying, why is everyone putting so much stock in Aaron Anderson? He hasn't played in a game in 2 years. He did. He played. He got in a little bit at Alabama because he's fantastic. I thought, what was that, the class of 22? I thought he was the best athlete in that class.
Because he puts his foot in the ground and makes you miss. And he's got a burst, and he's got good hands, and he confidently catches the football. Now, look, this is always
you had
a
him, man, my mind tonight. St. James wide receiver.
Kai Pring coming in.
No, but before him, the 3 kids, they all went to Alabama, the 3 receivers.
Yeah.
And Aaron Anderson was the best one of all of them. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Scrolling up. Chris Miller, can we get any of the Duncanville kids? If so, can we get 2? Man, it's amazing what that school is producing in one recruiting class.
I thought I saw Caden Durham's going to be committing here,
August 20-something?
Yeah.
LSU or Oklahoma likely?
Yeah, it looks like that. Of course, Simmons is LSU and Texas. And who's the other kid? DB?
Yeah. I mean, that school's got kids every year. So, all right, guys. National championship gear. You got to get over to Alumni Hall. You want to show your LSU Tiger pride? Alumni Hall is your ultimate shopping experience. The best and largest selection of apparel for the whole family. Nike, Nike Golf, Champion, Columbia, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yetis, gifts, and accessories. LSU students, faculty, and military receive 10% off in-store every day, and you can earn cash back with their Hall Pass Rewards program. Alumni Hall, located in Perkins Row, or anytime at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Tiger fans shop. And you see that image on the screen which says pre-buy now, in store soon. That image was from early last week. They are absolutely packed to the gills with national championship gear in stock at their store in Perkins Row. A beautiful store. Go by there and see them. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. And or go to the front page of TigerBait.com. I've been keeping that link in the first 4 or 5 entries on the front page. If you arrive at Alumni Hall by going through us, we get a few referral points from them. Much appreciate you guys doing it. Hitting Alumni Hall by going through us. And everything ships from the Baton Rouge store. It's not coming from Maine or anywhere else that some of the other national outfits ship from. And what's even better is, let's say you're from Alexandria or New Orleans or wherever, and you order from Alumni Hall, you can actually make your return to the brick and mortar store if you want.
And look, in Perkins Row, give yourself more than 5 or 10 minutes. You go in there to look at something, trust me, you're going to need a good 15 to 30 minutes looking at all the stuff in the gear.
Absolutely. Very much love our partnership with Alumni Hall. They're doing NIL deals with LSU athletes, bringing them in stores for signings. So you're going to want to also hit the like button, follow them on Facebook for any of their events, and I'll also keep you abreast of some new things that they're working on right now to have ways to get autographs from LSU athletes. Yes, Shaz Preston was who we were talking about earlier. Wilk says, how's McMahon's roster coming along?
He's got, I think, a complement of 13 players. Look, it's on the back burner because when you put it up against women's basketball and baseball and obviously upcoming football, it's kind of like vanilla ice cream. You want to wait to see how good it's going to be, and it's playing right now. But I think you'd be appreciably better. But, Mike, we said this on numerous occasions. NIL and transfer portal, he's going to have to kick it up a notch to compete with these second-year coaches. Of course, this will be the second year with Matt McMahon. And last year, some of those games were unwatchable.
I think he's got some more points, obviously, coming in than he had last year.
Great guards coming in.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be better. I think year 3 is when you really start to have higher expectations and hold him to it. But he's working hard, believe me. People want to say, does this put pressure on Brian Kelly, what Jay Johnson and Mulkey did? I don't think it does, and I think he's fine with it. And I don't think there's any pressure on Matt McMahon year 2. He's got to show some progress, but I think year 3 is when the pressure starts to
Yeah, I apologize. I just think right now my focus is more on upcoming football season, and of course, we know basketball will kick up in November.
Faye Schubert says, an order from Alumni Hall through TigerBait and will be delivered to me tomorrow. Very pleased. Thank you, Faye. And Alumni Hall thanks you as well. They just do fantastic work there. And, we're getting to the point now where if you want to go and try something on or see what it looks like, you're losing those opportunities as more and more stores close. And it's nice to have a physical store you can actually go into if you can't do it mail order. And so they can do both. Preston versus Anderson week 1. That's a cool storyline. Yep. Let's see. Anything you wanted to add, buddy?
A couple more numbers to get you up to date with. Deshaun Womack wore 49 in the spring. He took Ogofu's 17, so he's going to wear 17 this year. Ryan Yates is a safety that was here in the spring wearing 21. Deuce Chestnut. I'm sorry, Deuce. I screwed up your name last week. I think I called you Zach. But look, we were tired. This has been a long ride for us. We're out there, and it's and we got to, like Mike said on the show, we got to recharge the batteries because once SEC Media Day and football kicks up, it's grinding. But Deuce Chestnut Number 22, a guy that is a good tackler, might be a corner that plays in the slot. And I got to ask you about this safety from Zachary. Kylan Jackson, going to wear number 23. I know he's a big hitter. Once again,
Physical.
Can he pick up Matt House's defense quick enough to play more than just special teams at the start of the season?
He's very physical. You got the kid that does Denham coming. It's even more physical. Build-wise, like even bigger Todd Harris's with better hips. So they've got a lot to work with coming.
You talked to Benny Latino, and Zy Alexander was out there in the spring, number 24. He was getting reps along with LaTerrence Welsh. This cornerback battle is going to be interesting. They got a bunch of freshmen coming in, a bunch of new guys, so we'll obviously see that. And, of course, both 25s, Trey Holly. Look, nobody's really talking about him. I thought he was just a half a step slow in comparison to what I thought he was. I kind of compared him to a poor man's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Typical size of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but it took Clyde Edwards-Helaire 2 or 3 years.
I think once Trey knows it's all second
Oh,
nature,
he'll be much faster.
when it's second nature to him. I mean, for him to pass Nick Brissett on that state record,
Yeah.
I mean, he's just, to me, he's amazing.
And the other 25, Javen Toviano, love this kid. He'll be one of the captains on this football team before he leaves. This is the kind of recruit that Brian Kelly is looking for. A wee guy, a smart guy, a communicator, a physical guy. They played him at corner. They moved him inside as a box safety. He's going to play all around. We're just getting you acclimated with these new numbers. You're going to need a program and keeping up with the roster. As I said earlier, 40 new players on this football team, 2 new coaches, and I'll tell you a guy we haven't given enough credit to, and that's Jake Flint, the strength and conditioning coach. What they are doing and some of the different things that they are doing. Obviously, LSU's been very analytic all through, and you got to see how many bumps on the head and what kind of contact and what you weigh and how fast you recover and all that. But, man, I'm impressed with Jake Flint in year 2. I think LSU, from a physical standpoint, appreciably better knowing what Brian Kelly and Jake Flint want from you physically, mentally, and psychologically.
Absolutely. Guys, go to TigerBait and subscribe if you're not already a premium subscriber. $1, you can try us out for a week. And if you're an LSU fan, you're going to love it. You get our text alerts for breaking news, our newsletters. Those are going to start coming fast and furious. SEC Media Days start not this coming Monday, but the next. We'll have all that coverage for you. And before you know it, Buddy and I are going to be doing practice reports out there. And I think with a full complement, we'll see what the fall camp looks like as far as access from Brian Kelly. But I think it's going to be top-notch. And so you're going to want to be a part of TigerBait. I got a couple of big recruiting updates on the front page right now. Jelani Watkins, wide receiver. LSU's in darn good shape for him. You'll want to read that update. And Melvin Hills from LCA with a decision looming soon. And I've got a nice column from Brian that's going to be posted in the morning. And so anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I just wanted to add 4 new tight ends coming in. Jackson McGowan wearing 83. We saw him. He was a commit to Cincinnati. Denbrock flipped him. Mac Markway, the kid from St. Louis. Obviously, Camarian Pimpton. Look, I never forgot the first time I saw Greg Cook at one of these little places. He was washing his car, Mike. His arms were so long he could stand right here at one window and wash all the way the other window. I'm not serious. Pimpton is going to have an incredible, I have short arms. He's got twice. It's going to be unbelievable. And don't forget, now, they hadn't listed on the roster, but Connor Gilbreth is going to be signed and coming in the fall. Number 89, 6'6", 268 from Butte.
I mean, it's like
that'll be the blocking
because there were
end.
so many guys that were June enrollees, so many guys that were hurt. I mean, this will be the, because usually we get a lot of these guys early spring, and you're like, we make a beeline day one to see the newcomers, right? I mean, there's so many newcomers on day one that we got to try and get to. It's going to be impossible.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to take 2 practices for us to have something on every guy.
And that is exactly
on all the new
advantage
faces.
of being a member of TigerBait, because you can go back like Mike and I do at night and watch the film over and over. Man, who was 23? That was Colin Jackson. Who was 53? That dude's huge. That's Lance Hurd. You're going to get acclimated, but I think that's one of the benefits of your site, having the film, having the pictures. Remember, you give the still photos at times. Man, everybody talks about, man, this guy is pumped.
We're gonna have a lot coming your way video. We've got some fun things that we're working on, and wait till you see what we got plans coming rolling out for football season. So, all right, guys, hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're not already. Notification bell, and we'll see you on the other side. And y'all have a good weekend. Good night.
Stay hydrated, everybody.